Hey guys, what is up? It's Amy and welcome back to my channel. I make videos about sustainability and also sometimes about living in Paris, but today's video is going to be about sustainability. So you guys love these reaction videos. I love filming them because I have a lot of opinions and I love sharing them. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be doing another sustainability, which is basically videos where I drink tea while talking about sustainability. And of course I forgot to make my tea. I'll be right back. I have my tea and I think we're ready to start reacting. Today's video is one that is requested by one of you guys, and if you ever have any videos you guys want me to react to, leave them in the comments and I will react to them in a future video. So today's video is going to be about Amazon and it is called Why You Can't Boycott Amazon and Shouldn't Even Try. I already kind of guessed what this video is about just from the title, and it's definitely really sad.
Remember 7 months ago when Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, said that he would donate $10 billion?
I can't believe that was that long ago, but I definitely remember hearing that and I was like, cool, you could do more.
To fight climate change, and everyone was like, yay, we did it, we won the climate. And I was like, whoa, hold on everybody.
Okay, so third semester of college I took a class on sustainable businesses, and we basically had a project where we had to research a business and basically talk about the sustainable practices and whether or not business is doing enough. And I got stuck with Amazon. I didn't want to do Amazon, but I did get stuck with it. And my conclusion, me and my partner, from the research that we did, basically looking at sustainability reports and everything, was that Amazon literally does almost nothing. Obviously this whole giving $10 billion thing came out, or I think it's 10 million. It came out after I took this class. Obviously this was back in 2019, I believe. Obviously this came after, but still, like, when we were looking at through Amazon and their sustainability practices, it's basically just all PR. Like, when you read their sustainability report, it's just pretty pictures, barely any like graphs, barely any data. It's mostly just fancy words that make it sound like Amazon is doing all these amazing things. And a lot of their goals and their sustainability milestones are very either like super easy, or they haven't done anything so far to suggest that they're actually going to meet the milestones. So Amazon, in terms of sustainability, trash.
Firstly, $10 billion is a tiny fraction of his wealth, and it leaves him with well over $100 billion to his name, so it's really not that big a deal for him. And $10 billion doesn't actually go that far.
Especially when you consider the fact that an announcement like this is obviously going to generate a lot of positive press, so it's going to be great for business. So he's going to make money off of this announcement, so $10 million minus how much he's going to make off of the marketing, it's almost nothing.
Far towards solving the climate crisis, but philanthropy like this disproportionately benefits the rich, like Jeff Bezos. But none of that even matters, because while Jeff Bezos said that he would start issuing grants by the summer of 2020, it's now fall, and there hasn't been a single grant issued yet.
Are we surprised? Are we surprised? Nobody's surprised.
So it doesn't matter. Now look, I could make an entire series of videos about why you should hate Amazon because of how they violate human rights or do the most blatant greenwash.
Oh my god, one of the biggest things that actually made me so angry when I was doing this report on Amazon was the fact that one of the things that they do to take responsibility off of them is basically telling you that Amazon as a company isn't, for example, when it comes to child labor, which is something that Amazon and a lot of big companies are guilty of. What Amazon will do is, well, Amazon is not going to support child labor, but Amazon is a marketplace, so they don't really police what sellers are doing. So even if Amazon and the Amazon branded products like Amazon Basics isn't violating child labor laws, if they aren't policing the people who are selling on their website, then it doesn't mean anything if 99% of the products are made off of other people. If all these people are violating child labor laws and Amazon is doing nothing to fix that, then they're literally doing absolutely nothing. The fact that they're able to say, well, we as a company aren't supporting child labor, but they're benefiting off of the people selling on their website who are benefiting off of child labor. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, you can't say that. Ugh.
Or they fund climate denial groups, or I mean, the fact that their entire business model is based on unsustainable consumer culture. But let's talk about what we can actually do about this. Now, I used to think that the solution was just to stop buying stuff off of Amazon, and I mean, I haven't really been doing that. I've only bought one thing from them all year, and it was hair scissors because, well, this is the end times.
Ooh, I wonder when this was posted. I feel like in the future, whenever you're watching a YouTube video, like let's say 5 years from now, you're watching a YouTube video and they mention coronavirus, we're all just gonna have flashbacks. You're gonna be like, ugh, I remember that year. Oh, this was in October, so yeah. Ugh, shudder. It's 2021, by the way, but coronavirus is still happening.
But then I realized that, hey, I listen to hundreds of audiobooks and a lot of them are from Audible, which is a company.
And here lies the problem. Oftentimes when we say, oh, I'm not gonna support this company, there's a whole host of other companies that that company owns. So if you support this company, you're back to support, like you're back to square one. I'm actually working on a video. I filmed it, but I didn't like how it turned out, so I'm going to be refilming it. And it's basically about super big companies like Nestle, Unilever, Coca-Cola, like these huge companies, and what smaller companies they own that you might know about. For example, 7th Generation is actually owned by Unilever, and I literally had no idea until this summer. So I want to make a video about this whole concept of big companies and the smaller companies that they own, and why you shouldn't support the smaller companies, and kind of alternatives as well. It's definitely a huge problem, especially in the sustainability movement, because oftentimes companies like Nestle, for example, are going to come out with sustainable brands, but because it's still owned by Nestle, you're still supporting Nestle as a company.
Owned by Amazon, so I had to switch from Amazon, and I switched to Libro.fm, which I've been loving. A link in the description for that.
And that's exactly what we as consumers need to do. I definitely don't support like hating on people or like being mad at people for example, not buying off Amazon but using Audible, because oftentimes people just don't know. Like, I had no idea 7th Generation was owned by Unilever, and I supported 7th Generation, but now that I know, I switched to something else. So exactly what he did here, he figured out that Audible is owned by Amazon, so he was like, let me find an alternative. And if you aren't able to find an alternative, then that's the end of the line for you. Like, nothing more than you need to do there. But if you are able to, if you discover that a company isn't very good and is contributing to unsustainable practices, then switch to something else. And if you can't, then I don't fault you for that.
But then I also realized that even companies like Goodreads, which I use to list books,
I can't remember what YouTuber it was, but they were talking about how they were switching from Goodreads to a different brand because they realized that Goodreads was owned by Amazon. It's so complicated and it's so confusing because it's like a whole web of companies that you don't realize are all owned by one major company that you despise.
About climate change, to make recommendations to people like you. Goodreads is also owned by Amazon, and I can't get books from Aime Books either, or I can't watch Amazon Prime.
I didn't know that one. Oh my god. Wait a minute. I didn't know Aime Books was owned by Amazon. I literally, oh my god, when I was in college and I was getting my books, I specifically didn't use Amazon for my textbooks, but I used Aime Books. You see how this is all very complicated and confusing? Like, this is why we shouldn't fault consumers for making these kinds of mistakes, because we just oftentimes just don't know, and all you have to do is laugh it off. Like, all we can do is laugh it off, but it's really sad.
Or use an Amazon Alexa, or use Ring Security, or watch videos on Twitch, or find movies on IMDb, or, well, use 34% of the internet, because a third of the internet is hosted on Amazon web servers, and you can't even go and get your groceries at places like Whole Foods Market. And that is not an exhaustive list. Amazon owns another 30 companies that I didn't even name. So it's not at all feasible to boycott Amazon, and that's okay, because frankly, the issue is not.
Exactly, that's exactly it. It's almost impossible to boycott these kinds of companies. Like, even if you're able to boycott Amazon completely, try doing that to all the other multinational corporations. Nestle, Coca-Cola, Google, Samsung, Apple. Like, there's so many other major companies that are unsustainable that also own a bunch of smaller companies, and at the point where you're able to boycott all of them 100%, you're just gonna be living in the woods. So it's not consumers' fault.
Not Amazon. The issue is that our current system allows for power to become super concentrated into just a few corporations and a few individuals. That's the problem. Right now, there's just a few companies that own the vast majority of the internet. Amazon, Facebook, and Google, now Alphabet. And as Mark Zuckerberg puts it, these companies are so big that they operate more like governments than they do like companies. But
it's so frustrating. Like, it's literally so frustrating.
Have to be that way. In her book, Break 'em Up, Zafir Teachout writes that a well-organized strategic boycott is a powerful tool, but the degree to which the left has internalized ethical consumerism is frankly dangerous.
Preach! Something that really gets on my nerves when it comes to the sustainability movement is when people start blaming consumers. Like, there's certain Facebook groups that I'm in that have to do with sustainability, and you oftentimes get so many toxic people who are hating on specific consumers and people for making certain buying decisions. You might not understand someone's situation to where they aren't able to make the same consumer choices as you are. So we shouldn't be hating on consumers. We should be hating on the companies that aren't giving us the choices that we need to be able to live sustainably and also, I don't know, live, survive, buy food. Like, we can't all be perfect environmentalists. We need to stop giving consumers all of the hate when it comes to environmental destruction, because at the end of the day, like, we just don't have the options that we need to make the environmental choices.
Let's say you hear about Facebook accepting payment to run ads that are full of lies. You might think that your job is to stop using Facebook, to just delete your Facebook account. But really, your job is to contact your Congress member and demand that they make social media companies accountable, that they hold.
And this is exactly where the government comes in. And in case you're wondering, I mean, I'm sure you can tell from if you've ever watched any of my videos or if you watch this video up until this point, I'm pretty liberal. I consider myself a leftist. And so I think government regulation is crucial, especially when it comes to things like environmentalism and, you know, human rights. I think it's important for the government to be able to police the people. That sounds like I'm a fascist, but I think there are certain instances where the government should be able to make rules that at the end of the day protect us all. So when it comes to a situation like Amazon and monopolies, this is where it gets really interesting, because if you read like libertarian theories, because oftentimes the people who are against government regulation are libertarians or conservatives who have libertarian economic policies. But if you look at what libertarian economic policies are, you realize that they also don't want monopolies, because at the end of the day, monopolies aren't good for business. So why do we have monopolies if literally people on the left don't like monopolies, and people on the right should also hate monopolies because they're bad for business? I don't understand who is sitting here slaving away for Amazon as if anyone should, like, I don't understand who supports monopolies.
Liable for paid lies, and that will affect not just Facebook, but all social media companies. And those are the sorts of solutions that actually work. When we let companies...
Yeah, and also the other way that you need to think about it is, let's say we all successfully somehow boycott Facebook and Facebook is dead, which it should be. It's a cesspool for hate, and I don't understand who's still on Facebook other than the racist people from my high school. If we all successfully boycott Facebook, wouldn't the problems that were on Facebook just follow us to whatever new social media site? Like, for example, I'm on TikTok, you should go follow me. So for example, on TikTok, the algorithm is definitely more biased towards skinny white teenagers dancing. They tend to filter out / censor a lot of like super heavy topics, and I'm not talking about or something like that. I'm talking about people literally just talking about Black Lives Matter and getting their videos taken out for violating community guidelines. Even though there's some boys on TikTok who literally just post the most inappropriate things for their young audience.
Companies like Amazon grow to the size that they are, they have so much power that not only does it become impossible for small businesses to compete with them, but that amount of power actually undermines our democracy. These companies spend billions of dollars every single year.
California, oh my god. This is kind of off topic, but also kind of not. So Uber literally spent so much money in California and I think a couple other states to make sure that they don't have to pay their workers a fair wage, just so they could classify their workers as, what's it called? Basically, they spent so much money lobbying and making sure that that Uber drivers aren't classified as employees and that they're classified as basically contractors. They're classified as contractors, so they don't have to get healthcare, they don't have to get sick leave, they don't get any of those kinds of benefits. It's clearly a setup, it's clearly a scam, but because Uber was able to spend so much money lobbying, they're able to convince Californians that that's a good idea, even though it's just clearly just not.
Lobbying for politicians to basically make the rules for them. In fact, monopolies are so dangerous to democracy that we already have antitrust laws to prevent them from getting
and we're ignoring them. Why are we ignoring these laws?
Too big and to break them apart when they do. And what we need to do as citizens of a democracy is to get our politicians to write, rewrite, and enforce those antitrust laws to break up big corporations like Amazon. I sort of feel sometimes like we've forgotten what it means to live in a democracy.
So this is also kind of off topic, but because we're on the topic of government and democracy, this past election, man, crazy stuff. The fact that it literally happened like 2 months ago now, and Trump is still going at it, like, embarrassing.
Have more options available to us than just our consumer choices. But we have to act on those options. If you want to learn more about all of this, I recommend reading the book Break 'em Up. It has a blueprint for how we can organize against this sort of monopoly power. So go pick it up. The author doesn't even mind if you against this sort of monopoly. Break 'em Up. It has a blueprint for how we can organize against this sort of monopoly power. So go pick it up. The author doesn't even mind if you get it on Amazon, but I'd recommend that if you want to listen to it, you can get it on Libro.fm. I have a referral link to it in the description. Not only are they not owned by Amazon, but when you buy books through them, it supports local bookstores. They're an ethical company with a great app. Referral link in the description. You can use it to...
I definitely think that's super important.
...get a free book, and it will help me get books, which I would appreciate. And thank you so much.
Also, another recommendation that I have when it comes to listen to books, if you don't want to use Audible, because now you know they're owned by Amazon. It's this thing called, starts with an L. You can log in with your local library, if you even have one of those. Get your library card and you can just log in with your local library and you're able to listen to audiobooks, read like ebooks, and it's amazing. And you can also, if your library isn't on that one, then there's another one called Overdrive, which is the same thing.
For watching.
Oh, that was it. That was such a good video. Oh my god. So, I don't know if you guys can tell, but economics, politics, super interesting to me, and I really loved watching this video because it kind of brought me back to in high school when I took my very first economics class. Yeah, basically I took AP macroeconomics in high school, and if you don't know what macroeconomics is, there's microeconomics is basically business, super boring, don't recommend, but macroeconomics is the super interesting stuff. So you learn about like unemployment, inflation, you learn about the Fed, you learn about monopolies and all things like that. You also learn about that in micro, but the message of this video is super important, that it's very important, one, that we don't blame consumers for all of the environmental destruction. I think that's something that is changing in the environmental movement, from us going from zero waste everything to low impact. I think that's a big change, and that takes the pressure away from consumers a little bit, so that we're able to know that you need to just be making a low impact / doing the best that you can when it comes to sustainability, because we all have different resources, we have different circumstances, so we can't all fit all of our trash into a jar. So I think that's one big change that I think is very positive for the sustainability movement, going from zero waste to going to low impact. And then the other thing that we need to push more is for us to be advocating in terms of policy. So I'm going to look up a video where I talk a lot about capitalism and government and my opinion on where government should be when it comes to the sustainability movement. And just to recap, I think that government needs to be very heavily involved when it comes to environmental policy, because otherwise, like, these businesses, yes, you can vote with your dollar, but I think it's just so much quicker, so not quicker per se, but it's so much easier if we are able to get politicians to just pass laws that are going to be better for the environment. Yes, a company like Target can, if they want, they can do better. How hard is it to convince enough people to boycott Target for there to be change? And two, how easy is it for Target to just greenwash people? Pretty easy. So that's why I think environmental policy is much more powerful than just people boycotting certain brands, because one, it's super hard to boycott it's hard to boycott brands completely, like this video shows, like boycotting Amazon. Like, which Amazon? Twitch? Whole Foods? Like, which part of Amazon do you mean? And then two, it's also just hard to convince enough people to boycott for enough time for there to be change. So that's basically my opinion on this video. I think it was really well made and I love all of the points. And my final advice, word of advice for you guys, so I just want everyone, like, if you're watching this video, you watched all the way to this point, to know that it's just not your fault, and we got to this point because of capitalism, to be completely honest. If someone is able to be a billionaire, everyone who works for that person should be able to have a living wage. That's my 2 cents. Yes, Jeff Bezos, make that coin, but also don't make that coin off of corpses. Like, I don't think that should be happening. So that was the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed watching this video and reacting to it. I think economics is so interesting, and I also studied politics obviously, so I think that's also interesting. And so if you guys have any other videos that you think I should react to, leave them in the comment section. You can also follow me on TikTok. I'm gonna have that link down below, and follow me on Amazon. I'm just kidding. But yeah, that was it for today's video, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.